Hey guys, Soulless Reviews here, and today I want to talk about the new 5 Seconds of Summer record, Sounds Good, Feels Good. Now this album came out almost a week ago, last Friday, and I was gonna get around to it, of course. I actually listened to it that Saturday, but when I was listening to it, I actually felt like there was more to digest here. And I want to talk to you guys just for a quick second. Now, before I heard this record, there was something engraved in my brain from the mainstream, the media, mainstream friends, etc. It was that 5 Seconds of Summer was a fake punk band that was actually pretty, they were bad. They made bad music and no one likes them and they should be treated as dog shit. And that was kind of what was fed across to me by a majority of the people that surround me, or the majority of kind of people who genuinely didn't like them, and I thought they had valid reasons. So essentially what was happening is I was letting other people shape my opinion of an artist or artists, and that is never a good idea. So going into this project, I was really skeptical. I was like, okay, this is a mainstream, quote-unquote punk band, when really they're just kind of like, maybe rock, mostly pop band. I was really skeptical going into this, thinking I wasn't going to hear very good music, very cliche pop, boy band-ish music, even though they're not technically a boy band. But when I was listening to this thing, guys, it surprised me in the best way possible. There was actually good music here, and I was listening to this, I was like, wait, what? Are people who say 5 Seconds of Summer is bad, are they hearing what I'm hearing right now? Do they actually listen to his music? Or do they just right off the bat, they hear like one song by him and they're like, no, they're stupid, I hate them. They're not real punk, they're trying to be Green Day, but they can't be Green Day. Okay, fine, they're not punk, I can completely agree with that. This band right here, they're mostly a blend of pop, rock, and a little bit of punk. It's the least of what they have here is punk, so you can't really say they're punk. What they most have here is rock, but there's definitely pop elements too. So it's definitely pop, rock, and punk, all bundled into one. Which, again, may sound like a recipe for catastrophe. But on this album, guys, I was enjoying a lot of the music on here. And you guys should, or people who hate 5 Seconds of Summer, if you know somebody who's like, that band sucks, then you should actually straight up tell them, maybe like, have you ever listened to one of their records before? Or have you even tried even to enjoy it, trying to see if you'll enjoy it, not just hating it even if you do listen to it? They will probably answer no because they suck, or something really stupid like that. When in reality, this album was actually, I thought it was probably just scraped by with being good. I don't want to say it's decent because that's an understatement. It's actually a good project, and I'm going to tell you guys why. So right off the bat, guys, I kind of understood why people weren't liking this record, if they started to listen to this record, or maybe why people just don't like 5 Seconds of Summer in general. Because these first 4 tracks leading into the album really they rub you the wrong way. It's a really bad vibe, in that they're really upbeat, peppy, too light-hearted songs. They really don't show any kind of emotional investment other than the fact that they're trying to win over a teenage audience in the mainstream, and it's just really not all that good. And I'll get into my new perspective of it later, but I mean, when I first got into this thing, early Saturday, I'm like, alright, I'm ready for this 5 Seconds of Summer. I buckled down, I'm starting out this album, and it's just some really kind of, it wasn't exactly corny, but it was almost corny, borderline corny. It was like, I mean, you could do better than this. I knew they could do better than that. I mean, just he wants somebody to take his money, his wallet and keys while he's drunk. He doesn't want to make mistakes. She's kinda hot is just a reiteration of everybody has their flaws, yet we're gonna make it through life somehow. Don't worry, we'll all make it. Hey Everybody, while also being a format cop of Hungry Like the Wolf by Duran Duran, it is also essentially just meant to be an inspirational track for people who feel low in themselves, in that relatable to the line, hey everybody, we're getting laid! That kind of appeasement to the general crowd. And then them even emphasizing on their laziness on permanent vacation. And again, taking a really upbeat topic and just amplifying it with their voices. They're just kind of talking about this really upbeat topic that already 3 songs in, this being the 4th, it's kind of like at this point you're like, oh no, this album's going to be full of really kind of cheesy topics, isn't it? Well, wrong. Boy oh boy, would you be wrong. It seemed after Permanent Vacation that this album took an odd little turn on me. Because after Permanent Vacation, we got the track Jet Black Heart, which was actually an emotionally invested song. It sounded like there was some real emotion invested into that track. Topic of discussion was talking about how he feels as though he has a darkened soul, and he feels that he is a corrupted person, and anybody who gets involved in his life, be friends, be a girlfriend, anybody who gets close to him is going to experience the same corruption just by default by being close to him. It was the first time on this project where I actually felt like I was getting something out of this. I was like, wait, whoa, that's an interesting turn from what we've heard so far. And then just like that, like magic, the rest of this album finished out like it was supposed to be a serious album. Like this isn't some kind of joke, boy, this isn't some kind of pop band. We're taking our shit seriously, and the rest of the songs you're gonna hear in here are actually shit taken seriously. They weren't kidding around. They didn't have that tone of voice like they did in the first couple of tracks where they were joking around. They were being silly, like, "Oh, look at us. We're silly band members. We're crazy. Teenage girls love us." These tracks actually were touching on some topics that I thought they were well thought out. They were well emotionally connected too. There are times when I felt on some of these songs more than others where they didn't elaborate. There were some tracks where they just kind of talked about a topic and then they were like, "Oh, okay, that's the topic," and they walked away from it. And I was like, aren't you gonna, I don't know, maybe expand upon that a little bit? But they didn't. They just kind of left it alone. Although the topic was good, I can give them credit on that, and that is only a few tracks. There definitely were other tracks on here where I felt like they expanded just enough. Like on the track Vapor. Now, Vapor, it came out to be actually one of my favorite tracks on here, and at first hearing it, I was a little concerned. The lyrics, the chorus was, "I want to breathe you in like vapor, I want to feel you like the weather," and that sounded to me very clingy, like a very clingy, emotionally grasping hook, and I was like, is that what you like? I mean, yeah, I get people get kind of like lovesick sometimes, but I mean, you want to breathe the girl in like vapor, like it's a little weird. But the more times I heard this song, the more times it grew on me, the more I realized that it's kind of like he's lacking love and he's craving love. I feel like these lines were supposed to seem crazy. Like, who compares a girl like, "Do you want to breathe her in like vapor?" That's something I would never think of, mostly because it seems kind of chaotic. I don't know why you would ever want to say that. If you put that in a poem, it's sure to turn a girl off. But as I listened to this track, guys, it really grew on me that he's trying to be chaotic. He's trying to pull off this crazed persona in that he's craving love so much. He wants that raw emotion that he's saying these things like he's being so clingy. He hasn't had this love in so long that he's craving it to these extremities. Or on Broken Home, which paints a very vivid picture of the corruption that can happen in a family that has split parents. He isn't just sitting there whining about his issues, whining that his parents broke up and the hardships it took on him. He's putting it in the perspective of himself at that age almost, it seems like. It seems like he's putting himself in that age and he's questioning why this is happening. Why don't you guys feel the same love with each other anymore? I'm sitting here alone in this broken home not understanding why love can't be reconnected again. It was really... these lyrics seem like they were in the point of view of the kid who doesn't understand why his parents are fighting like this when they made him. They loved each other at some point. Why can't they love each other now? It was these questionable things that seem evident to us that, I mean, love can grow apart, but to a little kid, it's very confusing and misunderstanding and heartbreaking for the kid. And I feel like it captured that emotion really well on that track, Broken Home. I enjoyed that track. I thought it was really good. And that's essentially how this album played out for me. I heard some songs that were better than others, like The Girl Who Cried Wolf and Fly Away, and Airplanes. They weren't all that great. I think they were kind of like okay tracks. They were kind of mellow, a little too mellow for me. They had some kind of weaker guitar strings on them, but I'm listening to this project. I'm listening to it. It's dragging itself out a little bit. It's kind of overstaying its visit. It's 17 tracks long. I'm kind of over it at 14. And then we get to Outer Space / Carry On. And Outer Space was kind of like this big kind of rock orchestrated track that I thought it was, okay, this is a cool closer, but I mean, yeah, I was going to just tell you guys that this is better than what you think it is, but it's just okay overall. But that track tied this album together. On the second half of that song, Carry On, this album explains itself. It explains why it's almost a little choppy. It explains why its front half was light and peppy, and why its second half was a little more rough. And it does that but with one line. And that line is 1 foot in the golden life, 1 foot in the gutter. And that seems to be the refrain for the song, so I have no doubt in my mind, after it sank in a little bit, that that's what the concept they were trying to do with this album. This album actually has cohesion. When at first listening to this thing, I was a little concerned. I was like, there are some solid songs on here, more than people usually think there are from 5 Seconds of Summer, but I feel like it lacks some kind of cohesion. That song tied this shit together. 1 foot in the golden life. The first 4 tracks, although not that many tracks, exemplify them living in this golden life. They're creating all these upbeat, lighthearted songs that are kind of unrealistic, like they're being really optimistic about life, and they're being really happy and jovial about the topics they're talking about, even though they could be depressing, like I said she's kind of hot, they're looking at the perspective of, I mean, this guy's kind of like, he gets Fs and he's like not a good student, but he still has potential and shit. You could take that bad, you can reverse that and be like, he doesn't have potential. But they made it upbeat and really optimistic, and by doing that, they were able to make the reversed side of this album, even though it's more of like, well, fourth to three-fourths, they made the three-fourths of this album one foot in the gutter. In that, I mean, a lot of these second half tracks, they're really they're a little gritty. They have some more darker topics to them. They're really clingy love, or it's really broken love, or they're having some kind of emotional stress issues. And I feel like they really did a good job making that last track connect the whole thing, because if you didn't listen to that track, or you heard She's Kinda Hot like some people do, then you're just going to automatically assume this album's kind of trash. You're going to assume it's a mainstream pop appeal, and it's just not all that good. When if you realize if you would have listened to this album, then you would actually appreciate more the beginning songs on this thing, and appreciate this album in its entirety. I mean, that track, once I heard that line and it actually sank in a little bit, I actually was really surprised with how much I was liking this album more, with respect that they actually went into this having some kind of connection between their songs, not just blindly putting some of these upbeat, peppy, light songs in the beginning, and creating a darker mood as the album progressed. Now, I didn't really mention instrumentals all that much because I didn't feel like I had to elaborate all that much. The 3 out of the 4 band members are vocalists / guitarists, and overall this project has a very large rock influence. There's definitely a lot of rock guitars going on in this thing, and a majority of the tracks use the same rock guitar, which is kind of a good thing because it's a familiar sound and they play the guitars well. It definitely adds some kind of feel to the tracks. At the same time, it gets a little repetitive, not by much, because there's definitely the sense that Ashton Irwin is a show stealer, and his drumming definitely outshines a lot of the guitars on here. Great drumming all around. I think he did a great job with that aspect. So let me wrap this up for you guys. This album was able to tie itself together in a really neat way that I found myself enjoying more than them just going into this making it just rock, punk, pop band, boy band kind of album. Is it neat to perfection? No, because the beginning tracks that are supposed to be more upbeat do come off a little corny. Like, I can appreciate the fact that they were supposed to be upbeat, but that doesn't mean I enjoyed them all that much. And towards the end, we get tracks like Castaway and The Girl Who Cried Wolf, who seem to extend this album more than it should be, and also seem like they're more upbeat than they should be if they're trying to go for a more darker approach on the second half of this album. While also there being some times where the guitars were a little overwhelming and not all that enjoyable, I think overall this album pulled through really well. You guys need to listen to this thing, you need to give it a chance. You can't judge 5 Seconds of Summer by what other people are telling you, because they come through with a really decently cohesive project here. A lot of great songs on here. I mean, the main flaw this thing has is it's a little drawn out for my taste, because they don't have that kind of sound that can withstand 17 tracks long, in my opinion. But overall, really good album, something you should check out, and I would recommend this, guys. Definitely give them a chance. Like I said, you won't know until you actually try listening to them, and that is all I got for you guys. If you would like to like or subscribe, that'd be awesome. I really appreciate it, and till next time, Soulless Reviews.